I'm lucky. I got LeBron on my left, and I have D-Wade on my right.
Bosh slides it and slams it home. What a play by Bosh. Oh, yes, he did it. He did it. Blocked by Bosh. A mighty kaboom.
There's no replacing a player like Chris Bosh.
What a play by a shot by Chris Bosh.
That's right.
Oh, big shot by Bosh. Got it. Miami wins. Let the coronation begin.
They're ready to celebrate here in Miami.
You remember in the last segment when Kendrick Perkins called Chris Bosh underrated? It is very hard to be an 11-time All-Star and still underrated, but I think that you were, and so did the Hall of Fame. Welcome back to The Jump. We have, in fact, convinced the 2021 Hall of Fame inductee to stick around a little longer. Probably, you know, because of that cool video was pretty good.
Absolutely, Rachel. I just CP. Look, I mean, CB. Listen, when you was pouring the champagne right there, you was missing your whole mouth. It looked like it was going in your eyes. You was that turned up.
You want to know one of the funniest things, man? The champagne burns, man. It was burning my face. I didn't know what to do. It was like I had this whole vision in my head, and I had to rebound on the fly, man.
But I will tell you this, Chris, because you won your 2 titles in the same place. I have been in many championship locker room celebrations. They had more champagne available in the Miami locker room than any other baseball, Super Bowl, basketball locker room I have ever been in. And that was true in 2006 and in your 2 titles. And so the air just became so thick with champagne. It was like champagne humidity. So I don't blame you at all for missing the eye, is all I am saying. I do want to ask you a little bit about the comparisons we've heard all season between the Brooklyn Nets Big Three and, of course, your Miami Heat Big Three. So I want to get your take on it. Do you think there are similarities, or do you think it's just a completely different group?
Well, I mean, you know, it is a completely different group. You can say there's similarities as far as, you know, the star power and the mix of talent. Of course, all of those guys handle the ball. So one of the things, in my opinion, that I felt that we had an advantage over was I could get out the way and let those ball dominant guys be themselves. One of the things they're going to have to figure out is how to distribute the ball equally, how to move it around. And, you know, it's great having Kyrie. It's great having James Harden and KD be able to get you a bucket at any point in time. But the other aspects of the game, the defensive continuity, moving the ball on offense, on the offensive end, playing together, you know, those, when you have to get in those 3rd and 4th and 5th situations to be able to score against a good defense, I think that's where they're going to have their challenges. And, you know, how many games have they played together? Every time I watched TV, wanting to see the Big Three play in Jersey, I never saw them.
7.5?
You know, so
it's technically 8, but it's really 7.5. Yeah.
So, you know, it takes a full 82-game season, which this season has been shortened, but it takes a full season to build up that chemistry and continuity within a team to be able to be successful. But with all that talent, I think they'll be able to be in every game. And if any team can figure it out on the fly in the history of the NBA, I think it would be this team.
You know what? I agree with you. When you look at the Brooklyn Nets and their offensive firepower on the perimeter, we're talking about 3 of the most skilled guys to ever touch the basketball. But here's the separation to me. When I look at that Miami Heat team, right, you dove into it. When you talk about y'all defense, I remember playing against you guys, and y'all were tied on the string, rotating like the help was helping the helper. Guys were in their spots. If y'all were trapping a pick and roll, the next guy was already rotating and trusting the other to sink and fill. And then also, when you look at it, Dwyane Wade and LeBron James, I used to come out and watch pregame, and they used to work about 15 to 30 minutes on the block with Coach Fizdale. They didn't play a lot on the perimeter. What people don't realize, a lot of times they were taking guys to that block area and going down to work on that block area and punishing those smaller forwards and smaller guards. So that's the difference I see between the Heat Big Three and the Nets Big Three.
It's interesting, though, right? Because you guys talk about defense. You're absolutely right. But the same way when you both were playing, you heard all the old heads saying, it's not like the 90s. It's not like the 90s when we had hand checking and defensive basketball. Frankly, you guys would have the right to say that to today's players, only in that the offensive explosion, the stat inflation that we have seen over these last 2 or 3 seasons has been so enormous that I don't know if it matters as much that this team is not as sharp defensively as your Miami Heat team was, Chris, because, again, the game has changed once again. The rules and just sort of the way games are being called, the way guys are taking shots from 3. So I'm curious to see how much that matters. We just don't know yet because we've never seen anything quite like this in this modern era of basketball. All right, I want to move on. Now, we talked about your old team, Chris. We got to talk about Perk's old team, the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum entering the play-in without his running mate, Jaylen Brown, who is out for the year, of course, with that wrist injury. Chris, the Celtics host the hobbled Wizards themselves tonight in the play-in. Bradley Beal saying he's not 100%. So how much pressure is there on Jason Tatum tonight?
There's a lot of pressure on him. I mean, anytime you're playing for the Celtics, there's going to be pressure. I'm sure Perk will allude to that in a little bit. But that's a championship organization, and anything short of a championship is a failure, especially when you're competing with all those, banners in your arena watching you play. I think not having his running mate is a definite blow. Jaylen Brown, definitely one of the best young talents in the league. But they're at that point where they need to start taking that next step. And for Tatum, he has the ability to put that team on his back. But like I always allude to, it's a team game. And him not having his number 2 guy, him having to really probably put all of the scoring on his back tonight is going to be really tough. And I'm sure the Wizards are going to focus on him on defense and try their best to stop them. And, with that said, with that beast named Russell Westbrook, being able to just get a triple-double at will, and Bradley Beal, even though he's banged up, being able to get, 25, 30, 35 points a night, I think it'll be too much for the Celtics. It's like they're going down and the Wizards are going up right at the same time. So, we'll see what happens. I'm sure Jason will play a phenomenal game, but it's going to be tough to beat him in the situation that they're in right now.
Well, look, I tell CB and Rachel, I tell you this. The Celtics better win this game today, right? Okay, because for one, Jason Tatum has the better personnel around him. Although Jaylen Brown is out, he still has Kemba Walker, right? A guy that is capable of going for 30. He still has Evan Fournier, a guy that averaged 20 this season. He still have Tristan Thompson, Robert Williams, Marcus Smart, right? When you look at the personnel of the Washington Wizards, although we all know that Russell Westbrook is so ferocious and relentless and he's never going to give up, Bradley Beal is hurt, and we saw that the last game. So I'm looking for Jason Tatum to elevate his game even more, right? Since Jaylen Brown has went out, and when I say that, I want to see Jason Tatum do what Luka Doncic did last year when Porzingis went out. That's the type of performance and type of play I want to see out of Jason Tatum.
I am so excited for this game tonight, the little sort of mini rivalry between these teams that have developed over the past 10 years or so. Again, not Celtics-Lakers, but it's fun. There's some just edginess there between these two teams. It's going to be so good. Also, the rest of the show is going to be so good because coming up, did you know that Chris Bosh was one of Vince Carter's rookies in Toronto? It's true. We not only have the video to prove it, we have the Vince to prove it. Yes, Vince Carter will join the show next and tell us some stories from the 6 after the break, so keep it locked, friends.